Welcome to a Hero's Welcome podcast, where stories, healing, and culture meet. Every episode, we invite you to listen, reflect, and be curious.
This podcast is a space for mental health therapists where we talk about the real work of healing.
Whether you're a mental health professional, a proud geek, or somewhere in between, you're in the right place.
So let's jump in.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of a Hero's Welcome podcast. I'm your co-host, Maria, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host.
That's me, Liliana Baylon. And we are here with a special guest. We are here with Marisol, a dear friend of mine. Marisol, how do you want to introduce yourself to our audience?
Oh, that's a great question. So I'm a recovering therapist. I was a mental health therapist for 21 years, and it'll be in, oh my gosh, 5 days. It'll be a year since I retired from clinical practice. But what I actually do now is I'm a resilience consultant, trainer. So I do a lot with organizations and companies around trauma-informed care, building resilient teams, building sustainable teams. And I do a lot around leadership development. And I've been doing that for like what feels like a million years now.
I was like, since I know you, one, you have been in leadership, you have always been involved. And two, you have always helping either associations or agencies or anyone around who is willing to listen in regards to how to help people around them when it comes to leadership. So that brings us to our topic, which, by the way, side note, all of you out there, we're going to have to come back and talk about recovery therapists. That is the topic.
I love that title.
Today, we're here with Marisol, and we're going to talk about leadership, specifically what it means to lead when we are heartbroken.
Mm-hmm.
It has started, Marisol. How do we do that?
Yeah, well, that's such a, I think it's very poignant right now. I think, before we started, we were just talking about a lot of heartbreaking things that are happening for us. I think as a collective, I think individually, I think we have shared experiences. Liliana and I just recently had a friend that passed away this week. And I had this experience. So anyone who's listening should know that if you're a therapist, you should be in therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you all have talked about this before.
Yes.
But it's like, if you're a therapist and you've never been to therapy, it's like going to a doctor who's never been to a doctor. It's like crazy. Why would anyone trust you if you haven't sat across from someone else and been vulnerable in that way? So go to therapy and just do your work. But all that being said is I've tried to commit to that throughout my whole career. And so I was in therapy, and in 2018, my family took in two kids in kinship care. So it was an 11-year-old who was known to us and his 6-week-old sister.
Goodness.
And it was very, very, as many those who have been down this journey of kinship care, foster care, it's like very, very fast. It's like you get a call at 5:30 and then you have to make a decision by 6 p.m. And then the next day the children are in your care. And, at the time I had a 10-year-old. And so I was not adept to taking care of a newborn. I don't think I'm actually very good at taking care of newborns. I think I'm passable. And so they came into our care. And so in 2018, it was definitely a huge life shift. But this is all getting to the point of brokenheartedness. And so our goal was to get them back into their home in the safest way possible, because we know that outcomes are better when children are with their families. And even though that's a really challenging thing in the long term, we knew that that was an important thing to try and do. So lucky for us, they did return home, but it's been a challenge because we have continued to be in their lives. And so the 6-week-old is now a 7.5-year-old. And because we've been in relationship, been in relationship with their parents, we become the godparents. And so it's been challenging because, she experiences a lot of trauma and she experiences a lot of challenges. And a lot of woundedness, and went through a period of time where she consistently would like beg us to come back and stay with us and live with us. And so I would be in this constant, and Liliana knows this just in conversations that I've had with her over time, us trying to figure out what is our role, who, are we just walking alongside her? Are we supposed to intervene? And I was in therapy talking about this, and obviously talked about it at length. And I said, I sometimes I don't know if I'm doing the right things. I don't know if I'm doing more good than harm. Am I, confusing her more? What am I doing? And like, do I just need to like back away? Like, my intention is to do good, and I don't know if I am. And I feel like I am in a constant struggle with my own pain around what's happening. And she said, if you are making a choice to be in this girl's life, and part of that is going to have to be you learning how to live with a broken heart.
Hmm.
And I was like, she's absolutely right. Part of my conflict was not just about if I'm doing the right thing. Part of it was, am I willing to live brokenhearted, to be in this young girl's life? And so I think as I've approached some of the work that I do in leadership, especially with what's happening, just on a national, global level, I think people are challenged and they feel brokenhearted because of what's happening in terms of folks being, disappeared. I think people who work, in immigration rights, work in, working with folks in detention, people who are trying to provide services and funding is getting cut. And people are fearful for their own lives, based on what's happening in the current environment. It's really hard to think about continuing to do this work, and I imagine, and obviously different iterations of my career, I'm not currently practicing, but I think it's really hard to sit across from folks who are, having to live day to day this way. And it breaks our hearts, it challenges our ability to be like, every single day I have nothing to give people. I have no way of saying, to give people hope, to tell them it's going to get better. All we can do is say it might get worse
Yep.
before, like we were talking about. And so I think part of it is like, we are going to be brokenhearted for a long period of time. And how do we do the work in spite of our broken hearts? And with the understanding that our brokenheartedness is actually going to give us more capacity. Like, if I can like lean into my broken heart is a signal to me that like I'm so committed and filled with love for whatever the work is,
Mhm.
then I can like use that as fuel to keep going.
Can we pause there? Because that's huge. That's a lot of nuggets,
Yeah.
right? I was like, holy cow. How's everyone with that sentence learning how to live with a broken heart? And that feel like that should be the subtitle of our careers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. I mean, self-disclosing, I'm a Swiftie. So immediately her song lyrics of like, I can do it with a broken heart came to mind. And I'm like, no, but that's so true. That is so true. And I think, right, I think first is like giving awareness to that is part of the struggle. That is part of the ache and the work that we're doing. Because I think I know at least for me in my practice, we've been struggling with the words of why is this different? Why is this harder? Why is this heavier?
Yeah.
And without listing like all of the things that clearly are making things harder, but it's like, yeah, but my usual coping methods, my usual
Yeah.
support doesn't seem like enough. And
Mhm.
I think as a field and as females are very quick to internalize that. Like, what's wrong
Mhm.
with me? Right. Like we are
Mhm.
socially trained
Condition,
to
yeah.
be like, it's a failure of mine.
Right.
And just the statement of like, how do we do this with a broken heart
Mhm.
it feels sad, but it's also pretty enlightening of like,
Mhm.
yes,
Right.
that's what this is. How do we give hope when we don't have hope?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So
And that brokenheartedness doesn't have to be an indicator of like of stopping or not doing it, or
yeah.
if I'm brokenhearted, that means I'm doing the wrong thing or I'm not doing enough. It's like you're brokenhearted because you are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important, I think recalibration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So two things come in mind, which is everything is political, even though I feel still in denial.
I'm sorry, if you're a listener of ours, you know that to be true for the two of us. That should not come as news.
But also, the reframe that you did, which is we can use that as the fuel because we care. So is requiring us also we can continue giving, and how do we take care of ourselves, and how do we go to a space so that they can organize it and help us refuel, which is what you did with your therapist.
Yeah. And, I think the other thing that I'm reminded of, because, we live in a time right now, and I think this has just been, it's endemic of our culture. It's been since the beginning of colonization, the beginning of time, probably, is the dehumanization of, folks. And I think part of being brokenhearted is reminding us of our humanity. Like, we are still human, and we need to like hold on to our humanity and like help other people feel that. Like, we're brokenhearted because we're human, and that's a good thing. Like, you can be human, we can be human together. And we don't want to lose that, because I think that's what we're losing. That's what this, I think the goal is to isolate us, help us not be human, not see each other as human. And so we have to like hold on to the pieces that help us know that we are.
Yeah, we were talking about that before we started recording, about like that's kind of the goal, right? Is to take away the hope, to make us hopeless. And in our field, we know where hopelessness can lead, right? Like hopelessness is one of those major signs that big shifts need to happen,
Yeah.
because without hope, right? Like there's no motivation, there's no energy left to give. I think that's really important. The other thing that comes to mind for me is the practice of kintsugi. So the Japanese, so if you don't know, right, like it's the process, it's the old Japanese art of repairing broken things with gold.
Yeah.
When you were talking about being brokenhearted and still doing the work, and some of that brokenheartedness is fueling our capacity to continue to do the work, what came up in my mind was like our heart like fracturing, but then being repaired with gold, and then fracturing again, and then being repaired with gold.
Right.
So that was just an image that came, because I do think, because what I'm also seeing is a lot of people questioning that they've got burnout, which is also very possible given the state of everything.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if some of this brokenheartedness feels and looks like burnout. If we didn't have the language, if we don't have the awareness around it, this like, if you have a sense of hopelessness and helplessness, that is a sign of burnout.
Yeah.
And how can we navigate telling the difference between those two?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think it part of it for me is it's like, if I can have awareness that I am brokenhearted in this moment in time, then I can tend to it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the differentiation, is like, I think what we don't, I don't think that it's a correlation, like being brokenhearted means that I'm going to be burnt out eventually. I think it's more, this is a signal to me to tend to myself and allow myself to be in that. And whereas I think when we get to burnout, we haven't tended to it. We're not in tune with what's happening internally. We're not allowing ourselves to go through the fullness of that grief. I think with Ariane, it's going to be, with my goddaughter, it's like a constant cycle of grief for me, where it's like a constant, I think with every stage, with every moment, I have to let myself grieve.
Yeah.
And all the hopes and dreams that I have for her, like there are things where I'm like, oh gosh, I see such a vision for her. And then I don't know, again, I don't have any control over that, but being able to just grieve these things that she won't have. And also knowing that like the other night we went to birthday party. I took her to a birthday party, which was really sweet. And we're in the car, and she loves singing Pink Pony Club. She's like, and she calls it Pink Pony Girl. And so we're both like shouting out like Pink Pony Girl in the car. And I think those are like those moments where we can like come back and be like, okay, I understand why like this exists in this way, and that, I think being able to know that her our presence in each other's lives is something that is meaningful, and that if I can hold on to that grief, I think, and let myself feel it without having it be informative to take action. And I think that's what I was doing all the time. Like, oh, I'm grieving. I need to save her, or I need to do something, or I need to. And I think sometimes it's like, can I just be with it, and then accept it in a way that's going to just expand the relationship?
Yeah.
Which is the whole purpose of therapy, right?
Yeah.
Not the
Right.
fantasy of I'm going to go to therapy so that I will not be depressed, or I
They're
don't
going to
have
fix
to.
it.
Yes.
Your therapist is going to fix it.
Right. Or I'm going to not have boundaries and be in this position so that I can always be at service to you
Right.
without
Right.
attending to. So
Right.
you are talking about this movement that we're going through in our field and other fields too, but
Yeah.
talking about our field of mental health, where we are learning that we cannot be at service 24/7,
Right.
that we are not empty containers going into a session,
Yeah.
that we are impacted physically and emotionally when we hear those stories.
Mhm.
And when we are honest with our clients. When you were talking about grief, I remember a client coming to me, and she came a couple of years ago when her son passed away. And she was like, I don't want to grieve. And I was like, I'm not the therapist for you if that is your goal.
Yeah. Right.
I will be grieving with you.
Right.
Right. And it was like this shocking thing for her. And we've been grieving in waves. Like she goes, she comes back.
Right.
But it has expanded my capacity of, for myself, same as for you, which is this parallel process with our therapist and us being therapists with our clients, of expanding and understanding how to be with broken hearts.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like i- I think it was so interesting. Same therapist. Shout out Helen.
Hi, Helen.
I love you, Helen. I'm gonna send this to her. She'll love that. So I think, with her in this process, I think, when I decided to retire from being a therapist, and, I feel like I just had such a huge, like, I had so much hubris and ego around, like, who I was as a therapist initially.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, I'm going to be, I remember, when I taught a master's program that Liliana taught in as well. And I remember talking to the class. And so this was earlier in my career. And I said, I'm going to be that trauma therapist that's in the field for 30 years. So when you ever think of me, I don't know how many ever years from now, call me and I'll still be in practice. And I was like, what the- I hope they were all rolling their eyes real hard at me, like, oh my gosh, this woman.
Difference between Marisol and me. I went into that class and I was like, girl, I am helping you guys because I will not be in this field forever. I'm out.
Watch, they're gonna call me and it's gonna be like boo boo boo. Maddie's not in practice anymore. I'm like, I didn't make it. I was too traumatized. But I think the thing that I told my therapist, like, early on, was like, this practice, or my career is, what I'm committed to is, like, understanding myself through this work. And I think, so when I was, like, retiring, I was kind of like going through all this stuff around, like, I didn't make it. Like, I didn't, I just had all this, like, angst about some of it. Like, and she was like, it was never about that for you. Like, it was always about something else. And I was like, you're right. And I think that that's the beauty of therapy, is like, it's we get to be in relationship with people and, like, hold a space together.
Yeah.
And that's where the change happens, Liliana, that you can. And I remember early on, like, as a therapist, where, you were like, so scared and rigid and like don't show too much emotion, but like show enough emotion, like you're always in this like weird space. And then finally I was like, well, what could it be like to be human in this space? What could it be like to be like, your pain impacts me, like I'm sad when you tell me these things about the pain of your childhood and what happened to you, that I want to feel that pain with you.
Yeah.
I don't just want to be this like, robot trying to like, create, whatever this like sterile container for you. Like, part of it is like people want to be felt in that way. And I think that's important. And, I think again, kind of going back to this concept of like the reality is what helps you be able to hold those healthy boundaries is like doing your own work. I think the fear is always like, oh, not knowing where that boundary is, within that client relationship. And part of that is like, if you know yourself and your own boundaries and you know what that feels like, then you're going to show up in a way that's healthy.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love
I
that.
love that a lot.
Yes. I think that should be a soundbite for all of you out there, and including for us, right? Because it takes time. I feel what you're discussing, Marisol, is a developmental process.
Yeah.
To get to that place, if you go to therapy and if you keep organizing and finding out. I remember you and I having these conversations about you retiring.
Mm-hmm.
And that time I was like, God damn, we work. I had to go back also, and Maria knows this, because I was like, this is a second career for me. I used to do business plans and helping business to launch, to do things. And I was like, I changed careers. Why this career feels like it's my only identity.
Yeah.
Versus any other career that you go and you feel like, fuck it, it's time to pivot.
Yeah.
But there was something about the training that we're given to believe, and especially when it's female driven, to believe that we have to sacrifice, that we have to be there and answer to everything and have the right answer and the right intervention and the right model and network and smile and do the facials, and like it was exhausting. So when you told me back, wow, it was like years ago, like I'm retiring, I was like, fuck yes. I'm gonna be living through you. And then I went through health airs and I was like, wait a minute, this cannot be my identity. So I had to go also to therapy to figure out why is this identity feels different as a mental health therapist than any other career.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think that's pretty common in helping professions, especially those that are, I think, female dominant. Again, I think that's part of the conditioning. But I'm wondering, because not all of our listeners are in a position where they can quite retire yet, or would like to keep.
I don't know if I was. I don't know, to be fair.
Or would like to keep doing the work. So we've given them some tips, right? One, maybe look to see if this is brokenheartedness.
Yeah.
Two, if you're not in therapy, get your butt into therapy. What else, Marisol, would you recommend for them to consider so that they can take care of themselves authentically while still doing what we still love doing the work? Otherwise, we wouldn't do it.
100%. And I think that's so key. I think it's so key. I think so. I'm going to, something that you said just triggered something in my mind, Liliana, and then I'll circle back to, I think I have some really helpful things related to like what is important and what's helpful to do, because part of my road to retiring was burnout. And I was like, I can't do this anymore, just like physically, emotionally, like I hadn't been attuned to the impact, even though cognitively, like I knew I wasn't tuning in. And so I did, like, when I was going to pivot, and like similarly where I was like, this is like, I can't just like stop. There's an income related to the work that I do, to support my family and pay my mortgage and all the things. And so I did a strategic plan with this group, and they were like, I thought they were going to do like, what do you want to do here? What are your goals for Q1? What are your rocks in your bucket or whatever? And this woman was like there to do like more like coaching. And she said, who are you? And I said, well, I'm a therapist. I'm a friend, it's about whatever. And then she goes, okay, well, what if we did this? And she took a marker and she crossed off therapist. And I started crying. And she was like, what's that reaction about? And I said, I don't know. And I had to go like deep dive into that, like understanding of like, how did this become my identity? Like, how did it become the thing, the like thing I led with, or I can't even let go of?
Yeah.
It should be easy to say, I'm just done with this career. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
And so I think part of it is like, I think it's like really being with yourself and being like attuned and honest
Mhm.
and, going to therapy. And I think also like to Liliana's point, I think there is some grandiosity that we have around who we are in this
Yeah.
profession. And the reality is like, you kind of have to come at it like, you know what? I'm not that important. And that's the hard thing
Yeah.
is like, and so I think it's like having honest reflection,
Yeah.
very like just the fact that we're like, but my clients need me." It's like that shouldn't, like I until the very bitter end, I did that.
Yeah.
I mean, finally, like the person that I worked with, I was seeing like 4 clients, kind of like here and there. And she was like, you need to stop, like you need to like it's done. And I was like, "Oh, but it's not that big of a deal, and we've been together forever." Like, I have all these and it's
Yeah.
like, if I honestly look at myself, it's like, what is it about me that can't let go of these things? And so I think that's the important thing. It's like, I think if we can be honest with ourselves and say, in spite of my broken heart, this is the work that I love and I'm called to, and I'm going to tend to myself and allow this to expand me as a human being, not just as a therapist, but as a human being in this world. And if not, if it's my brokenheartedness means that it feels like too much and it's now been, it's all consuming. I think that is a signal of like, how do you rethink this? And the reality is like, if you retire, everyone's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I say something? We had a past guest, I think it was in season 2, Joy Tapia. I don't know if you remember, Maria, and it's a friend of us. Marisol, I don't know if you remember a conversation that we were having with Joy. And by the way, he's in his 30s, so we're like, whatever.
We're the viejitas of like, he's always like, he's always like wide-eyed, like, what are these
But
women
he
talking about?
said, and that helped me. And this is before all of this started. And he said, we're in a field where a client can fire me any second.
Mhm.
I'm in a job where they can replace me within a day. And when I'm in a field that if I write research or books, I have to keep rewriting in 5 years in order to stay relevant. The reality is that this field is a consuming vampire sucking. Like, and when he said it, I was like, what?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this, Liliana.
And I remember that conversation because we were eating amazing food as we usually do.
Yeah.
And having and that's the thing about our group, right? Like we go to places, we eat, and then we're having these deep conversations, but we tend to separate our identities and then have these big conversations about identity, what is happening, what is important, and then coming back to what is it really important and how are we present with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that our field tends to neglect because they keep insisting in this idea of you don't exist, you are a tool to be
Yes. Right. Yes. I'm reading this book, and I don't know if it's okay to swear in your
Yeah.
podcast. I'm sure it is because I know Liliana.
I mean,
So I'm reading that book. It's called Love in a Fucked Up World.
Oh.
It's not, I think for the therapists who listen to your podcast, it's a little bit, you'll be like, this is somewhat elementary. But the first part of the book I love because it talks about this like concept of living in a culture of disposability. And we
Yeah.
believe that people are disposable. And I
Yes.
was thinking about this in the context of being a therapist.
Mhm.
And I felt like there were times with clients where I felt disposable.
Yes.
And I think it's like we commodify therapy, which we should, right? We should get paid for our work. But I think in that commodification of therapy, we've made it as though like, you didn't work for me, or you did that thing and
Mhm.
now, you fucked up. And so it's over now. And it's like, that's like, and we allow that.
Yes.
we internalize that. I know that like I've thought about like therapy relationships like that, things happened or didn't work or
Mhm.
and I internalize that as like, oh man, that was
Oh
like
yeah.
so painful and like how do I live with that? And how do I live with that as part of my identity as a therapist out there in the world with no control, But I think we have cultivated that culture in this therapy world is that we are disposable. And I think even like people come to us and they'll be like, well, I had that one therapist and she was horrible. And then we kind of like puff ourselves up. We're like, well, that's not me. I'm one of the good ones, and it's just like, it's just so much more complex than that. And I think we have to like fight against that,
Yeah.
that we're not disposable, we're human beings and I would work on that obviously with my clients and say like part of this relationship is like, doing repair and like, being honest and, allowing things to come to a conclusion. And I had one of my clients that I was with for a long time. He and I had our final session and he was crying and crying. We were both crying. And he said, how do you end something that's good? He's
Oh,
like, I've never had that. And I said, it's kind of a beautiful gift that we both get to have. It's like we get to end when it's good and we get to like hold each other in that. And I think we don't allow ourselves as therapists to like hold that space of like, how do we allow ourselves not to be disposable, that we can have endings that are like complex and hard and, ones that are good and it's all okay. It doesn't have to mean that we're bad.
yeah.
Mhm.
I love this conversation. And going back to Maria, when, you ask like, how do we help or what do we share with our therapists who are not ready to retire or think about, I cannot retire. I think you have given so many tips in regards to this is an ongoing grief process of
Yeah.
learning how to do this job that is constantly heartbroken for what
Right.
we chose to do. We are
Right.
containers for trauma,
Yes. 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 Yep.
right? And then also, can you stop thinking that you're God gives?
We're not. I'm not for sure.
We are replaceable, but in that part of the boundary is also understanding that you are human.
Right.
So do not dehumanize yourself. You are a human being who deserves to be seen
Yes.
and appreciated for what you do,
Right.
but also like calm down.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not that important. It's fine. And I think I constantly, I mean, that was maybe a gift of therapy for me was like, girl, you're not that important. You can walk away and everyone's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I think, I think part of that is giving ourselves that permission of we can make choices for ourselves.
Yeah. And I think that's the most empowering key that we can share with anyone who's listening, right? Which is you are valuable. We see you.
Right.
Right. I know our field and associations and boards have made you believe
Right.
that you have to be in fear of and that you have to be in
Yes.
service of. Right. But the reality is that we see you. You are worthy of honoring yourself and
Yes.
listening to your body and like waves going in and out of this heaviness that we chose to do for a job. And that's not your only fucking identity.
Yes.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah. I love being like, and now out in community, I'm always like, no, I'm not a therapist anymore, And it helps me because I think it helps me curate the other parts of myself,
Yeah.
and maybe there's always a part of that will live in me, and I feel like it was a gift for my own journey of just self-understanding and growth. And, I always say like, the oldest daughter in a Latinx family, parentified, over responsible, high achieving, perfectionist. And so I fell into the right profession. I was like, people come to me as an authority. And
Yep.
I get to like, be like, I am the authority. Um, But I think in that it helped me grow past that,
Yeah.
helped me grow past this idea that I had to take it all on. And so I think overall, I think, again, people will be like, what a beautiful like thing that you get to help people, and I'm always like, oh God, I never even think about that. And because I really think that for me, it was more about understanding myself in how I related to the world.
Yeah.
Well,
And therapy was just,
that's such a sunshine, rainbowy like outlook on our job. It feels so fluffy when they say it that way. And it's like,
I
no,
know.
you don't get to dismiss the work that I am doing and the
Yeah.
toll that it is taking on me
Yeah.
physically and mentally. No, it is not,
And
it's not that.
and people love to like dismiss, our emotional labor. Like
Yes.
people always be like, it must be so hard to like sit all day and listen to people. And I'm like, that's not what I do. So uh, yeah, it is hard, but for different reasons.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's like dismissing that emotional labor, and I think we can invalidate ourselves because of that.
Yeah.
But understanding that like this, our society is built on emotional labor, and it's important. And I think the more that we can curate our inner world in a way that like feels the meaningfulness is about ourselves, it's not just about what we give.
Yeah,
um
I love that. And the invitation, even to our listeners, of like, if you took your occupation off that list,
yeah.
what are the other pieces of yourself do you need to cultivate and pour into?
Yes, that's a great practice. People should do that. Make a list, put therapist at the top, and then cross it off. See
Yes.
what happens.
See what
The
happens.
anxiety, the emails with the anxiety that we're gonna be getting, and we're gonna send them to Marisol.
Yeah. And I'll be like, it's okay. You just cross it
It's
off.
all
Right?
right. It's gonna be
By
fine.
the
There's
way,
life on the other side.
Marisol saying like, "That's okay." That's like her line every time that we reach out to Marisol. It's like, "That's okay."
It's all gonna be okay.
I think that's a good headspace to be in a field that makes everything feel like
Yes.
so high and so heavy and so black or white in terms of like crisis and responsibility. I think it's a nice place to be of like, okay, that's okay.
Yeah. And it is okay, right? Like I remember just living in constant fear of like, what if I get grieved? What if this happens? What if it? And we live in that, and now I'm just like, it's okay. It doesn't have to mean anything,
Yeah.
It can just be an experience that we have.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important piece. And I know for myself, it's like so much of my identity was based on, am I doing it the right way?
Mhm.
And it's just like, how do you do relationship perfectly every time? Like it's impossible.
Fucking
And I
patriarchy
think,
and whiteness all there.
Especially,
right?
well, yeah, especially in the world that we're living in right now. Like,
Mhm.
there's no way any of us could be asked to be our best selves all of the time when the world is on fire and we
Right.
are all, living in fear and rightfully so.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing we can just cross off the list. We do not have to be perfect humans right
Mhm.
now, and that's
Mhm.
okay. That's
Mhm.
okay.
Or ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
doing our
With
best.
us. Go
Yeah.
Mhm.
dance, go laugh, go
Yes.
explore other identities so that
Mhm.
you are able to create capacity to be with this grief as collectively. That's exactly what we're going through and what we're feeling, either because you are providing a service such as a mental health therapist, or because you are leading people or associations, or
Mhm.
because you decide to be a foster care, or you decide to be a godparent too, or you decide to, right? It is part of the journey
Mhm.
if you are open to explore it.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, Marisol, I am so thankful. Thank you for being my fire host, because I feel like I'm always in fire, like fire, and you're like, it's
Well, I'm glad that I'm that for you. I gotta like do that for myself sometimes. I'm like, girl, it's gonna be okay. Non-attachment, non-attachment. That's my practice.
Thank you. We are so lucky to have shared this time with you. For our listeners, we will have Marisol's information in the capacity that she will be able to respond to you. Please follow her, not on Instagram right now because we're taking a break.
Taking a break.
That's another modeling, right?
Only on
Boundaries.
LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yes. Just deactivate your account because then you're always tempted to go back.
Yes. Thank you, Marisol.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Till
Yeah,
next
thank you, Donna.
time.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on a Heroes Welcome podcast. We hope you found inspiration, insight, and maybe, just maybe, a little fun along the way.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your fellow healers. Until next time, stay curious, stay playful.